A lot of the problem with aging is descent of the tissue and loss of integrity. And it's loss of integrity of the skin, but also actually those muscles, the ligaments, everything sags a bit. It doesn't necessarily disappear. So there are a few highlights for me. One was meeting the Professor Chiara, who actually sort of came across this combination of HA, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit more, but she is a professor based in Naples. And she actually flew up and met us in Milan, just me, Stephen Liu and George, the Australian team, and the IPSA company. And we actually had half a day with her, and she actually explained exactly how she developed the product, how she came across it. I mean, like all good things, it was discovered by accident. And what's really unusual is the impact it has on the actual skin turnover, cellular impact in the skin. So it's quite different to other hyaluronic acid molecules. And that is this sort of unique combination where she has shown that the combination of this hyaluronic acid in this form has a very different impact on cells to other hyaluronic acid. So the keratinocytes, the fibroblasts, the adipocytes, they all respond to this combination. And some of the best stuff she showed us were the wound healing studies that they've done. So basically they do a scratch test, they scratch the skin and put a hyaluronic acid medium and then watch how fast it actually heals. And with this particular combination, everything healed a lot faster than either of the chains alone or the control, obviously. So there's some actual strong science behind it. And that's what I probably didn't understand, how it actually works differently to the other hyaluronic acid products in the skin. And so we did that. Then in the afternoon, we went and actually saw the production of the product. So we got to tour the factory, saw all the little syringes being filled up, saw the Australian stuff being made. Of course, we just have different packaging, different
same
boxes.
Stuff, different labels.
So yeah, exactly. Different labels to meet all our requirements. And then we did a couple of days of one of their master classes. So that's where we actually got to interact with all the doctors from Europe and Middle East in particular, who had been using it for quite a long time, and then did some shopping and came home.
Fantastic. Tell us a bit more about the Australian boxing and packaging, because I understand that there's also a leaflet that has to go in there, George. That was part of the regulatory process.
Yes, that's right. Labeling is very important, and there are some changes that are going through or are being implemented by the TGA at the moment, which could be another reason of slowing down the process for us. So in there you will find the information for use leaflet. It's like the product information sheet that you would normally find in a drug. You've also going to have a patient insert card and now a patient information leaflet. So I think there's an encouragement now to not have those glossy brochures that you find, at the, outside the waiting room. Once you open the Profhilo box, the cosmetic injector, the healthcare professional, is to obviously provide that patient information leaflet to the patient. So similar to a CMI or a consumer medicine information sheet.
Yeah. And I'm assuming nurses as well can inject this product?
Absolutely. Yeah. So registered nurses and any healthcare practitioners. Yeah.
So before we get onto the product, should we maybe just do a little bit of a sort of background discussion around the importance of collagen and elastin and how hyaluronic acid works?
And
who better to do that than
hey, look, we've got Karen McDonald here.
Yeah, fancy that. There may be some injectors out there who don't quite understand the product, and we'll come on to like why we use it. But the little bit about skin aging would be helpful to sort of orientate this chat, Cara.
Absolutely. I love to talk about skin. That's what I'm here for. So I think it is really important, actually. And one of the things that we neglect to appreciate is that the skin ages in so many different ways. And we all look at volume loss, and we hear about that. We talk about it. We talk about the bony resorption. We talk about loss or redistribution of the fat layers. we talk about, changes in the muscles and resting tone, and also we talk about thinning of the skin. But if you actually look at the face, the loss of volume is not huge. It's certainly not, mils and mils and mils. But the thing is that when we put volume in, we actually improve the appearance of some of those other changes. But a lot of the problem with aging is descent of the tissue and loss of integrity. And it's loss of integrity of the skin, but also actually those muscles, the ligaments, everything sags a bit. It doesn't necessarily disappear. And that's where that redistribution of volume is probably more important than actually loss of volume to some degree, or at least, both. So I think when we look at anti-aging procedures, we need to remember that improving that tightness and decreasing the sagging is probably more effective than just replacing volume over time in terms of prevention. And when you look at this product, I mean, we have a lot of evidence now about what it actually does in the skin, but it also impacts the changes that happen in the fat and possibly the muscles and possibly even the bony layers. And that's where it's really exciting. And the research is still, coming out with that. So we don't have it all yet. But the way I like to think about it is that, it doesn't make you grow fat or grow bone or grow muscle, but it stops those changes where all those cells become less effective and slower and sluggish over time. So our fat cells go back to a more youthful appearance, and our skin cells go back to a more youthful turnover rate. And so if we look at the skin specifically, we all know that the extracellular matrix is the main component of the dermis, and that is your elastin, hyaluronic acid, and your collagen. So they're your three big components that actually give you skin thickness, skin, hydration, elasticity, luminosity, all the things we want are in that extracellular matrix. The surface cells, epidermis, is where our skincare really is effective. But the thinning of the epidermis is minimal. I mean, our epidermis is less than 0.5 millimeter thick most of the time, whereas our dermis is a few millimeters thick. So it's the dermis that actually is important. And if we can increase the activity of our fibroblasts, that is the cell that actually, produces all those components. So I think this product does two things really. One is it literally just injects a high concentration of hyaluronic acid into the dermis. And because it spreads, it really gives you that water holding ability without any volume. So it doesn't give you any swelling or lumps or puffiness or volume as such, but it's holding a whole lot of water into your dermis. And that's probably a more temporary effect, which is why people want it again as it wears off. But the other thing it does is it actually switches on these fibroblasts and probably keratinocytes and adipocytes, but it makes them more youthful. So the fibroblasts actually start producing more collagen again, they produce more hyaluronic acid again, and they have a kind of better function, I suppose.
Fantastic. You got that, David?
All of it.
Thanks so much for watching the video. If you want to listen to the whole podcast, go to your favorite podcast app and search for Inside Aesthetics.
If you like the videos we're putting out, please consider subscribing to our channel. Give us a like, smash the bell icon so that you get notified when we put out more content.
If you'd like to support us, our Patreon link is down below, and you can also follow us on Instagram on our personal accounts.